Hello, everybody. I have today very special guest, really very special person, because Chris here, he participated, he will tell how, he participated at 600 weddings. Crazy. Because how many weddings we visit usually, in our lives? Yeah, a couple, maybe 10, maybe 15, depends on how many friends we have. And Chris has experience with a lot of people, observed a lot of situation, and I will read how he wants to be introduced. It's a very interesting thing. Chris Shelley created and performed personalized wedding ceremonies all over the US. His book, Best Ceremony Ever, has helped couples and around the world create better ceremonies. And he does educational talks at wedding industry conferences. Chris is also the creator of People Skills Live, an interactive social confidence boosting experience that he takes to schools and organizations. He once hosted a memorial service on TV for John Rivers' dog. He splits time between New York and Cincinnati. Oh, I like New York. It's one of my favorite cities. Yeah, you're happy. You're a happy man. Okay, Chris.
Yes.
How did you manage? Explain to us, please. How did you manage to be at 600 weddings?
Well, you start with the first one and then just keep going, because no, this has been something 12 years in the making. I first did a wedding in the very end of 2011, and I did maybe 16 of them in 2012. And then all of a sudden I was doing 50 in a year and 60 in a year. And now the pandemic kind of slowed things down, and then it picked up again, and now 600. And I feel great about it. I know other people who are wedding officiants too, who've done this a lot longer than I have, who've done well over 1,000. So I look forward to doing that someday, but I still feel like 600 is a big deal. That's a lot of weddings to go to. And it's a lot of people to get to know. I get to know my couples really, really well. So I get to see patterns of what works in relationships and what keeps people together. And it's so interesting because so many people are exactly the same.
And really, what's it's really interesting thing that you mentioned it. What makes happy couples happy?
The number one thing I wanted to mention to you, and I'm going to mention it first so I don't forget it, is that what I've noticed in all of my couples, I'm old enough that I have to say things before I forget them. I've never heard a couple tell me that they used to do something they loved doing, then they met their person and got involved in a relationship, and now they don't do that thing they love doing anymore. I've never heard that. All the relationships that work, each member of the relationship lets the other person do the things they love to do. In fact, they try to get interested in what the other person's doing too. They try to participate in each other's lives, even if it's nothing they were ever drawn to before. I had a couple just a few weeks ago. The bride does competitive ballroom dancing, I think. So she's really into ballroom dancing. The groom didn't really dance at all, but he took dancing lessons so he can at least go out to a club with her and dance and not make a fool of himself. And he's learning, and he enjoys it, There's a common thing where the man will be more interested in sports than the woman. Not always, but a lot of the time. A lot of women will say, well, you know what? I'm going to learn how this sport works and start cheering for this guy's team because life is too short. I hate to see him cry when his team loses. And all of a sudden, she becomes a fan of a sport, and now they have something else to do, something else to talk about. So couples that participate in each other's lives tend to stay together. And they realize this in the dating process. I think they realize pretty early on, is this someone who's going to force me to change who I am? Or is this someone who really admires who I am and what I do? And they just want to learn more and they want to be involved with me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I understand it completely, because I have the situation. Sometimes women come to me and say, yeah, I don't like him doing this. I don't like him doing that. And I always say, fix the moment you loved him, because you loved him being person he is in this moment. As soon you start shifting around, as soon you start changing something, he will not be this person you fall in love with. So it
Exactly.
means changing him, changing his behavior, and we all are enemies of our behavior, of our habits. You change his personality, and after it, don't complain if you start loving him.
Yeah, exactly. That's a very good
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it's a different approach. But it's really interesting that you started with searching for similarities and not changing each other.
Yeah. I think it's approaching a relationship with optimism and with openness and kind of improvisation. Like if you go into a relationship thinking it's going to be exactly a certain way, you're probably going to be disappointed. But if you go into a relationship thinking, okay, I like this person, they're good looking, they make me laugh a little bit. How do you get beyond those initial things that draws you to someone? And then you realize, well, you know what? I really like that this person is really close to his family. I like how he treats his sisters and his aunts and his mom and whatever. And he could like how she's really ambitious and she goes out of her way for her career and to do things well. Whatever it is, if you just jump in and say, well, this is who this person is, I'm going to do whatever I can to support whatever they're doing. You know, because like you say, if you don't like it in the first place, then get out and go find somebody else, you know,
Yeah.
because there's so many people in the world. There's literally, Ksenia, dozens of people in the world, maybe hundreds, maybe thousands. You know?
I remember when I was in the school, we had amazing literature teacher, and he explained to us this, searching for the half, Bible and all this stuff. And he said, from statistic point of view, it's not possible to find your second half. We are too many people, so it means
Yeah.
we have a lot of halves.
Yeah.
And with every half, we can be happy in the different way.
Yeah. And I think there's no way you know even what your other half is.
Yeah. And often, so what I experience as matchmaker, because you see people already on the other side when matchmakers finish their work. But what I see very often, especially on events, people go in the room, look around, don't like faces, don't like noses, don't like mouths, I don't know, insignificant things.
Yeah.
And decide, no, nobody is for me. But how it's possible to make this important decision of your life, nobody deserves to be with me, just looking at the face? How can you know?
Yeah, I don't know. And yet, a lot. Do you have, you know what Tinder is, right? The app. Yeah, of course. It's, that's a starting point, and that's just the looks, right? Because you start off with just the looks, but it's not starting off with just the looks in person. You still have to then contact the person and make some kind of connection before you agree to meet in real life or IRL, right? No, there's so much more to it. People, if people go into this thinking, I envision my perfect mate, they must look a certain way I've envisioned, like maybe it's modeled after a movie star or something, they're going to be disappointed. They really are. They might have a type. They might, there might be an unnegotiable thing, like he's got to be taller than me, or he's got to be healthy, not necessarily ripped or in shape, but healthy. And some people don't care about that at all. It's so interesting, but it's once people realize that the life they're going to have with this person, the interactions they're going to have with this person are going to be pleasant, they're going to be fun, they're going to be mutually respectful. All of a sudden, little things like, does he have a beard or not, don't matter at all. Do not matter at all. But I find that my older clients are much more discerning than my younger clients. Sometimes I admit I'm a little skeptical when a couple is in their early 20s and they tell me they met in high school or they met in college and they've never dated anyone else, or this is my first love. The older guy, I get kind of skeptical. I think, really, you're going to marry this person? You've only tried one flavor of ice cream and you're just going to eat this ice cream forever. Then I have my couples who've been married 3 times before, 2 times, 3 times. They have children from multiple marriages. And yet those weddings and those relationships that I see are the best. They're older, they've lived, they've finally realized what's really important. And they're just enjoying life so much. So it's funny when people reach out and they say, well, we've both been married a couple of times before. We hope that doesn't bother you. I'm like, that's great. You made some mistakes. You made probably the right decision in ending those relationships. And now you're with the right person. You know,
it's really interesting thing because in my mentality, so I'm originally from Russia, so it used to be to get married very early because it's like belief to create a family very early. And second, it was something like if you meet in your early age, you can fit to each other better because being young, you're more flexible. But
yeah.
I am on your side when people learn from their experience, from their own maybe not always right decision, they appreciate what they got,
Yeah,
or what they're getting. What are others? So you said, not changing each other, being optimistic, improvisation in relationship. Yes, it's what are other things that happy couples have in common?
Oh, geez. Well, when things get difficult, when there's a death in the family, when there's an illness, when they go through long distance, a lot of my couples so many of my couples, in fact, are faced with the challenge of long distance because of their jobs or school or whatever. I even in my templates for the ceremonies I write, I have cut and paste dialogue for the long distance introduction because it's always the same. But the people who have long distance actually seem like they're stronger in their relationship because they met each other, they liked each other, they dated. Okay. Then jobs brought them apart. So now they really have to make a decision. Is this person who's 3,000 miles away so important to me that the distance won't matter? Is this person I only see once a month so important to me that the distance won't matter? And we are together making plans for eventually being back together. Those are the ones who they're able to look at their relationship from a logical perspective. They're not always together. They're not always able to just be with each other whenever they want and have everything they want and be fulfilled in all kinds of emotional ways. No, they're both doing other things. They're apart. And yet, if they still want to be together after that, they're probably meant to be together. And those are the couples that I have no doubt about.
I have numbers. I have numbers for Germany.
You have numbers. Oh, tell me the numbers.
Yeah, really interesting numbers because Germans, they count everything. It's their mentality. They count everything. They have statistic for everything. So if it's local couples, German man, German woman, or it's not I don't know about same-sex couples, but same gender couples. It's the same number of divorces, same amount of divorces like everywhere in the world, about 50%, 55% of local. But if it's about foreigners, so if somebody German get married with somebody foreigner, it's less than 5% divorces.
Less than 5% divorces.
Because of this distance, because you think you logically, love is great to have, but it's not must have. This is a problem. And it's exactly the thing I have to explain all over and over. So love, it's nice to have. But if you make decision about getting married, you have to think, analyze, and discuss a lot and ask questions and get answers. Yes, less than 5%.
Yeah, that is really interesting. And I think it makes a lot of sense. Even to the point where I would, if I was a counselor, which I'm not, I would tell couples who've been together for a while, but who've never been apart, I would say, why don't you each go on a trip or something separately? See how you like that. 2 weeks, no big deal. Like just be apart for a little bit and it'll become very clear for you whether this is meant to be or not. Now, the opposite effect also kind of happened during the pandemic when a lot of couples ended up in the same quarters together a lot. Like almost like they jumped ahead to the later part of the relationship and they got to see, well, does this work? Now, this is basically what it would be like if we were married. We're living together. We're together all the time. In fact, it's even more because when there's no pandemic, you're off at your job, you're going to work, you have things to do. Pandemic, people had nothing to do. Maybe they worked in separate rooms, but that's about it. But I have so many couples now who realized they were meant to be together after being together a lot. So you can learn a lot from being apart, and you can learn a lot from always being together. But when you have the freedom to be together and not together because you're busy, you don't learn as much. Nothing is ever solidified. But the clarity comes in those situations. It's so interesting, I feel. But what I really find interesting is how similar so many couples are. They really are. They just seem like some of the timing is different. Some people are together for years and years and years, then they get married. Some people are only together a couple of years, then they get married. For me, my wife and I were only together less than a year before we got married. We just knew. We were both in our early 30s. We were young. We knew, and we've been together 21 years now. You know, very happy. It's just one of those things where you can only look back on it with perspective and say to people, when you know, you know. It's like a really trite expression. When you know, you know. But if it's happened to you, you know it's true. There's no question. This is the person for you.
But you know, it's really interesting thing, because sometimes it's so the question, how can I understand this person is right for me? You just know. You just sometimes you cannot explain. You know. Okay, that's personal question.
Yes.
31 years being married or in relationship with your wife, I'm sure she's amazing personality. I mean, I don't doubt. What would you advise to yourself being 30 years ago? You know, so what from your experience right now and long way being in relationship in the family, what would you recommend to a younger version of you?
Younger version of me?
Yes.
So we've been together 21 years. If I could go back 21 years and tell that person something, yeah, I would tell myself to listen more, to really pay attention. There's sometimes in ceremonies where I'll mention the secret to having a great marriage is just pay attention. And this is something that sounds simple, but it is not. But when you learn to observe your partner, even when they don't know you're watching them, observe everything about their body language, their facial expressions, their tone of voice, everything. If you really pay attention, you're going to have a much better marriage. And I think when you're younger, I think we're distracted by things a lot more. We're still like on our career trajectory, and we're focused on our career trajectory, and we're planning things, and we're obsessed with what we're writing or working on. And it's easy to not ignore, but not catch every single detail, every single message and bit of communication your partner is giving to you, even silently. As you get older, you realize, oh, I should really pay more attention here. And you sort of like the camera pulls back, you know, and you can kind of see the both of you. You can see what's going on. And it's not just what's happening there, like what's happening with her family, what just happened at work, why she's in a bad mood. She must have had a bad day at work. And I know there's something coming on. Once you start really focusing on all what's really going on, things get a lot better. And another thing I mentioned often in ceremonies when I'm giving a little bit of advice is that you've got to really pay attention, but ask each other questions all the time. Like it's a first date. Like never assume you know everything. Never assume you know anything. Like ask them questions. What's going on? Interview them. Get to know them. Let them talk. And we have an amazing marriage now. Like we're really tight. There's a lot of times we end up saying the same things at the same time because we're both thinking the same thing. And it just seems ridiculous that we know each other that well. And so I tell couples, you have this to look forward to if you do these things, if you really pay attention and ask questions. Yeah, so I'm embarrassed. I got to tell you, my first year of marriage, I didn't think I was going to make it to year number 2 because I was a bad roommate. I was a bad roommate. I didn't pay as much attention. I drank more. I was focused on different things. And now, 21 years later, I'm a much different person. But I've also found what I love to do. And officiating weddings is something I only found 12 years ago. So back 21 years ago, I was still kind of finding myself and what I wanted to do in life. But now I've been doing this, and I know this is something I'm going to do until I'm dead. The only reason I'm not going to do a wedding is if I'm dead. That's it. I'm going to be 100 years old and still doing weddings because I love it so much.
I say the same about my job. When I have my team meetings and we do it on Zoom, I always say, girls, when we are retired and we will be sit like old women, you know, so with the shaking hands, we still will try put people together because we love it so much.
Yeah, it's so
Till
fun.
the last,
What is the most fun thing about matchmaking for you?
you know, for, most fun moment for me is sometimes you see immediately where is the problem. Because in most situation, people are single, especially long-term single for
Yeah.
reason. I see, but you know, we have some ethic. I'm not allowed to say it. I have to wait until he or she asks, Ksenia, where is the problem? What do
Yeah.
you think? And then, yes, I am allowed, I can say. But, you know, this waiting for this moment and, you know, and would you mind if we do it simply? Oh, you don't want to, it's okay. So it means sometimes I have amazing singles who are really ready to cooperate, but sometimes it's really this resistance. They want to find something, but they are literally are in the way of own happiness, and I cannot get through just because they don't want it.
Yeah.
And this is one of the things you want to help, but you cannot, because I always say it's really very simple to work in the factory, because you produce something and you sell it. It's one way, but I have to produce here, I have to produce there, and I have to sell across.
Yeah.
And you know, it doesn't work without them. I'm just in the middle, I just helping. And this sometimes we have, so for example, now we have started preparing amazing stories for St. Valentine's Day to make, like, you know, article report about our agency.
Yeah.
So many stories, but on the other hand, there are so many people who could be happy and who could use your services, but they lost their chances.
Yeah, that's sad. It's so sad. We're in such different parts of that timeline. I'm way down here after they've done everything, and you're way at the beginning, trying to make things happen for them. That's so interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So you are the goal. They
I'm at the
have
goal.
to,
Yeah.
they have
Yeah.
to achieve, and I'm at the start. And you know, so from all these people who come to us, and we try to help. And I remember the start of my career, there was no internet, and it was like normal books and showing and introducing, not
Oh,
giving
wow.
them something to read, just, you know, like normal old-fashioned way. It worked better than now. It really worked better than now, because I said, you know what? Listen to me. Just believe. She's good candidate for you. Okay. And he went to the date. But now all this choice, it destroys them. They cannot choose because it's too much. Yeah.
That's it's called something, the paralysis of choice, or choice paralysis.
Yeah.
It's better if
yeah.
it's only maybe between 2, at 3 at the most, but more than that. And then some people, I bet there are some people who enjoy the fact that they have so many choices, and they want to kind of live in that moment where their life could go so many different directions. But if they want the goal to get to me, eventually you've got to make a decision. And this is why it's so important for people to be brave to do this. You know, they have to be brave. Just, to take that first step and say, yes, I'm going to have dinner with only this person. I'm having a one-on-one coffee or a dinner. It takes someone to be so brave just to get to that point. You know, to get away from the computer.
Yeah,
to get away
because
from all
some
these
people,
yeah.
You know, virtual world, it's shiny world, and it's not reality. Have you got a situation where a couple came to you, you started talking to them and preparing their wedding, and they decided, no, it's too much, we are not brave enough, we are not doing it anymore?
Yeah. Fortunately, very rarely, but it has happened. It's a very disappointing email to see. It's usually an email that say, after some long consideration, we've decided to postpone our marriage indefinitely. One of them just recently said it was financial issues, which could be true, or that could just be what they're telling me. Yeah, it doesn't happen that often. I usually have a pretty good feeling for people's genuineness before I let them hire me. If I'm not convinced that they're in love, or this is something that's going to happen, that should happen. There are times when I suddenly become unavailable. It doesn't happen very often. But one of these things is if only one of them is contacting me, if only one of them is interviewing me and asking me questions, or even worse, if it's the mother of the bride that's contacting me and asking me the questions, I'm like, you're not getting married. I need to talk to your daughter and her guy. I don't need to talk to you. Then I know I'm very skeptical about that. And one of the best excuses we can have, and it's, is that I had to tell someone once, a really good friend of mine is getting married on your same day. And there's no way I can't do my friend's wedding. I've known them for 30 years. That I make it like, and one time it happened, it was actually true. It was actually true. I'm like, I have the opportunity to my childhood friend's wedding. I have a great replacement for myself. You'll love her, And other times I've had to say that when I just don't feel like it's a good situation. So I do occasionally make things up.
No, it's okay, because so it's something. It's sometimes it's important to make the decision. I have a question. If you have a couple, they come to you, but you don't like them, do you still agree to work with them, or you search for excuses, or for some, I don't know, for some issues, don't continue working with them?
Well, sometimes it's deceiving, because sometimes their first impressions will be good and I'll think I like them. And then as I'm working with them and getting to know them, it changes. Yeah. And I've had some unfortunate experiences where I've worked with people that after a little bit, I'm like, I don't even like this person. And I'm kind of surprised he likes her, or that kind of thing. But I go through it. I went to acting school. I'm a trained actor. I can make it believable that I still believe in them as a couple and I still like them. I can give that impression even if it's not 100% true. But again, fortunately, it very, very rarely happens. Usually when people have vetted me, they've looked at my website, they looked at videos, they've read reviews, or they've heard about me through word of mouth, they already have a pretty good feeling about what I do will match what they want. And then when I meet them and that turns out to be true, it's all good. It's all good. It's when a very young couple is maybe influenced by a wedding planner who knows me. Maybe the wedding planner thinks I'm great, and maybe I am, but I'm just not right for them. Then it's a little weird occasionally. And if the parents found me and not them, like sometimes moms want to get involved and are like, I'll find you the officiant, you do the other stuff. I am the most personal part of a wedding, because I'm the one sharing the story with 100, 200 people. The florist doesn't need to know all the details. Caterer doesn't care. If your check clears, that's all that matters. I need to know like all this personal stuff. So it's very rare that it doesn't work out with me. And more importantly, here's one thing. I don't check up on my couples. Some of them I'm friends with on Facebook or on Instagram or whatever, and I'll kind of notice that they're still together. I'll notice, oh, they just had a baby. I'll notice these things. But I don't send out happy anniversary emails because I'm afraid, like, what if something happened? Because there have been a few that have been divorced, and, I feel bad. It wasn't my fault, like it seemed like it was going well. I don't know what happened. I don't want to know. But yeah.
But it's really interesting. It's quite similar to my profession, because as soon couple get married, so they disappear. So some of them stay in touch with us because we have a lot of projects where even couples can participate, but generally they disappear. And I really
they don't need to anymore. Like you did the thing and now they've got the person. Yeah,
because I always afraid if they contact me again, maybe something went wrong, and I will feel guilty and feel responsible for not finding the right one. Even as we both know, we cannot promise anything. They both made this decision, and it's just we are help them in the process. What is the most heart-warming moment in your job? But what do you like most of all in your job? favorite part of your job?
Oh, sure. There's a moment in the ceremony where all of the wedding party has entered. Everyone stood up. The bride makes her huge entrance in her beautiful dress. And there's a little handoff where there's a lot of hugging and kissing. And then the bride and groom come up and stand in front of me. And I tell everyone to sit down. And I start talking. And it's immediately going really well. And the look on the bride and groom's face of relief, because they've been so nervous to get to that moment. A lot of people don't even like standing in front of people, let alone talking. So here they are in front of all these people. And it's so nerve-wracking for them. And then I'm like taking all the attention. I'm talking and telling their story. I'm making people laugh. And their faces just like, the smiles come out. And they laugh at stuff. Like they're laughing along with the guests at what I'm saying. And they're enjoying it. And for me, that's priceless. Because now we are in the heart of this really stressful event for you. And you're having a great time. And this was the part you were most afraid of. So imagine how much fun you're going to have for the rest of the night. That makes me feel really good. When it's because it's being in front of people is nerve-wracking for a lot of people. It's nerve-wracking for me, and I've done this for years. I love it as well, but I know that it's such an adrenaline rush when you make a room full of people react to what you want them to react to. When they laugh, you want them to laugh. When they're crying and emotional. When you're saying something beautiful, when you're saying something wise, and you see all these heads going like this, going like, yeah, we agree with that guy. You know, when a whole room full of people are giving, I guess, that affirmation to you and to the couple that this is a good idea, it's an amazing moment. It's an amazing moment.
I can imagine. I would cry. I couldn't be in your job because I would probably cry with every couple. Have you
I'm
ever
dead
cried?
inside. I never cry.
Yeah.
No feelings, no soul. I never cry.
Really? No,
I've come close a couple times. I really have. I've come close. There were some things that were so beautiful, or I'm just like, keep it together. Keep it together. Because if I cry, the whole thing falls apart.
Be a man. Be a man.
Be a man. Come on, suck it up.
This year, first time in my life, I watched the British version of Married at First Sight. Do you believe in the situation where it's possible to bring two people together, just introduce them on the first day on their own wedding, and still it can work?
If they meet at the wedding?
Yeah, only. Like arranged.
I would say it could work, but it's highly unlikely to work. It's a nice story if it works. Oh, love at first sight. Everything was perfect right away. That sounds great. That's a great story for the Hallmark Channel or whatever. But in reality, that's like filling a gun full of bullets, spinning the chamber. Like, all right, let's see if this works or not.
Russian roulette, yeah.
Russian roulette, a la weddings. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, if it works, great, fantastic. But I wouldn't recommend it. I wouldn't. If I was a matchmaker, I wouldn't say like, just go marry the first person you see when you leave the house.
No. I wouldn't do it, because in this situation it's my responsibility, because I choose this couple. No. I introduce themselves, explain the rules, and it's their decision to stay together or don't. I'm out of the game. So much responsibility I'm not ready to take.
But you've done this for a long time. You're really good at this, right? So
but
chances might be a bit better if you're the one putting them together.
But situation is, it's even if you think you know the person quite well, or even if you think you know the other person quite well, and think, I'm amazing match, it will work. There are so many levels it can get wrong. Most of the time it's money. It's always money, and it's not the money who earns more, but more what are we spending for.
Yeah.
No, this is, I have now one client. He's really millionaire, has a lot of money, and his idea of first meeting, and the girl is Ukrainian refugee living really only from the state. She has to come to him to Switzerland on her own cost, and if she has no money for the hotel, she has to sleep on the couch in his living room.
What?
Oh, yeah. It was my reaction. What? Really? Because it means knowing people on this superficial level. It's easier, even if you know people, even if you feel people. But sometimes when they stay alone, they make so strange things that, this is, I know, it's what I feel, this what I think about this person, but the rest is not my responsibility.
It's not. No, just like for me, that their marriage is not my responsibility. I can think, yeah, you should try, and I will marry you, but the marriage is really up to you. I can't control that. Yeah.
From these 600 marriages you already preceded, how many of them were their love at first sight?
Oh gosh.
Difficult question.
I probably less than 30%.
Oh, it's a lot.
There's people, one generality I'm seeing more and more is that people take longer to decide these things. They take longer to warm up to someone. The women especially. The women, of course, are smarter than men generally. They ask more questions. They take longer to decide, okay, this could work. I don't see but this is also, I tend to attract, and I'm very fortunate in this, pretty intelligent people. I don't have idiots that are finding me. Like, if I sense they're an idiot, they're probably not for me. But I usually get a lot of smart people who do think things through, and especially think relationships through. And in the last 10, 12 years, I feel people are taking even longer to decide. Yeah.
Because we're losing our communication skills because of pandemic, because of this isolation. We're losing our communication skills, and just because we test more than we talk, we're losing even our emotional intelligence. So there are a lot of researchers, very bad researchers for the future, especially for the children. Especially for the children, they lost their skills to communicate at all.
Yeah, this is why you mentioned in the intro, my other program I like to do is just to go and teach people how to make an impression, how to present themselves, and basic stuff like eye contact and handshaking, and standing up when someone enters a room to greet them and face them, and don't look at your phone halfway through. Basic stuff that I take for granted. But young people, I'm worried about young people.
Where we all spent, so our generations, where did we spend our childhood? Outside negotiating.
Yeah.
With other children, with other gangs, with other yachts, with other, so he has sweets, we are friends. He has no sweets, we are not friends anymore. How to get sweets from him? Because no internet, no gadgets, nothing. You had to find the way how to survive. So that's why elder people, I think 40 and older, so then it hasn't started yet, they still have this genetically, but the kids, they cannot. They were born with, just look nowadays, babies sitting already with smartphones. What the hell?
It makes me so sad. Yeah. It makes me so sad. There's even when you go to restaurants, and if they bring their child, the child's sitting over there, and the way they keep him quiet, I guess, is to have him look at his stupid cartoons or whatever. I have a friend who, her son often comes out with us. It's a bunch of adults and him. And for years, he just had his phone and would never communicate and never participate in our conversations. I would ask him questions. He'd ignore me. And I just thought, how are you going to make it if you can't even talk to a table of 3 people, 4 people? It's so sad. And then forget about that. But what about dating? What about matchmaking? How are you going to go out and meet someone unless both of you specify, look, I like to spend about 15 hours a day on my phone, ignoring the world. If you're good with that, you know, we can have dinner together, then go back to looking at our phone. If you're fine with that, let's get married. What is that what it's going to turn into? Like people asking, well, how many hours do you spend on your phone? 7. Perfect. You know, that's what we're headed for.
You had to spend 10. 7, it's not enough.
10? Yeah. How many free hours do you have? You have like 90 minutes? I only need 90 minutes. I mean, that's fine.
Yes, it's really sad because of this first pandemic, then their dating apps and all these additional troubles. So people really go to the date, and they. As example, I had last week one of my events in London, and I understand the problem. So that's why I said I think my job and your job is quite the same, because I have to lead, I have to manage, I have to tell we are doing this now. In 5 minutes, we start doing something else. So I give their comments. As soon I left them alone, I said, you know, so I am over with my program. You can mingle, you can communicate. Half of them disappeared, because being alone after hours spending together with my leading, they don't know what to do next.
Yeah. It's so sad. Is that now going to be part of how you train people? Like, do you have people saying, you know, Ksenia, I have a really hard time talking to people in person. How can you help me get over that? Is that something you help them with?
Of course, I give advice, but you know, it's really, I don't know what is your experience, because I recorded several interviews with different people from dating, coaching, and so on. And it's always men are usually better listener. So it means they listen if you give direct advice. Most of the time, they just try to realize it, to fulfill it, you know, to immediately. Most.
Yeah.
But men are very bad to work in groups. So it means they are individually, so then they are not ready to solve the problems in groups. Women will be very emotional, will not say, yes, Ksenia, you're so right, but they don't follow your advice. This is the problem. So it means it's always, you know, find the way how to put the poison of wisdom in the head and do it really in a nice way. So, you know,
maybe it's like if they're both in a room together, give them something to do, like a shared task they have to do, like clean off the desk, or arrange all these socks or something, like, and have them work together. So they have to do something. So they already have that third thing they have to concentrate on, and they don't have to think of something themselves. So the pressure's off.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes, I do. And I even say, you know what, just because you don't know each other, you know, at the beginning of my event, so you have to find something in common. And if the only one thing that brings you together to gossip about how bad is the event and how bad is Ksenia's organizer, it's okay. I can live with it. Gossip about me, important is you have common enemy, and it brings you together.
Yeah, it's so true. And it's worked for centuries, you know?
Yeah, so common enemy.
Yeah, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you know, so I enjoy our conversation so much. I'm so sad that I'm not going to New York this year for the conference, because
me too. Maybe next year. But you're giving me
next
your option to come back.
Next year, definitely, and to meet in New York and continue our conversation. And I think till the next year there will be minimum 100 weddings more.
Oh, I hope so. I hope so. So do you think I would have fun if I went to the matchmaking conference? If I like told a bunch of people like.
Absolutely, because it's your niche. It's your niche, because they are. I will give you contacts so you can contact them. Say that I recommended you to contact them, because for them it will be really interesting, all these statistics, because we put people together, but what is happening behind the scenes, you know, and how do they communicate? How do they survive after we finish our job?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know it, and we don't.
Yeah, I see it all the time, over and over and over. It's been so lovely talking to you.
Oh, it was so nice. I liked our conversation, and of course, I wish a lot your couples a lot of luck, and I wish you a lot of new couples a lot of amazing experience, a lot of love, because you're working for love. Servant of love.
I'm a servant of love.
Servant of love. You're slave of love. And I can see that you enjoyed it so much. And of course, I wish a lot of luck in your family, and not only this 31 year, but 30 years longer.
And I wish you lots of wonderful people and success stories for people who find the right person. And then send them to me.
Thank you very much. And next year we meet in New York. I will definitely will go there. Thank you, Jill. Bye.
Bye-bye.